will look and say, but wait a minute, they're Americans who are unemployed. Why can't you just hire them?
They don't want to come out here and work in this extreme conditions, 100+ degree temperatures, dust, hard work.
What if you paid them more?
It doesn't matter.
I'm going to say the meanest thing I could possibly say to these Trump voters posting self-pity videos because they're suffering due to his policies. You don't get to complain. You definitely don't get to complain about the lack of leadership or ideas coming from Democrats, because we didn't do this to us. You did this to us.
What percentage of your workers are not U.S. born?
Probably half.
About half?
Yeah.
A new trade policy will also be great for the American farmer. I love the...
No, the hell he doesn't.
Caleb Ragland is the president of the American Soybean Association, and he just wrote an op-ed for a right-wing publication, and he said in there, quote, "Like many of my fellow farmers, I voted for President Donald Trump in the past 3 elections. The president won me over with his commitment to business-friendly tax cuts, as well as his track record of reducing regulation and cutting government spending. I am one of 500,000 soybean farmers in America who feels the pain. As a businessman, President Trump must know how urgent this is." Does he? Is he?
So I'm a black farmer, and a lot of people are wondering, why are black farmers not panicking like a lot of white farmers? Well, let me explain to you the reasons why. It's because white farmers have been handed everything to them, a lot of them.
MAGA farmers voted for the orange man twice. Not once, but twice. They cheered for him when he promised to bring American farming back. They believed in him when he told them that China would pay the price. But now the silos are empty, the equipment sit idle, and they're going bankrupt. Well, the very people who once wore MAGA hats with pride are now pleading for government bailout, claiming that this is not the America they voted for. Wait a minute, just because it's affecting you now, it's not the America you voted for? Well, we've had that before. This has been the story of every MAGA online who is being affected by the orange man's policy, because they voted for hatred, they voted for racism, thinking that it was never going to affect them, because for them a great America included other people paying the price, but not them. Well, in today's video we are diving deep into the wave of regret that is growing across America's heartland as white MAGA farmers face bankruptcy, broken promises, and the brutal cost of the trade war that they never fully understood. I'm your presenter, Joel Mogisha. If you're new, kindly consider subscribing, like this video, and drop me your opinions in the comment section below. Let's keep the conversation going there. Let's take a look. I'll be back with more commentary.
Will look and say, but wait a minute, they're Americans who are unemployed. Why can't you just hire them?
They don't want to come out here and work in this extreme conditions, 100+ degree temperatures, dust, hard work.
What if you paid them more?
It doesn't matter. You know, we pay some of the highest wages for farm workers in the nation right here in California, and they won't come out. In California, we grow about 50% of the fruits and vegetables and nuts for the country, and any shortage of food like that is going to impact everybody in the nation, because not only will food be less available, it'll be more expensive.
I'm going to say the meanest thing I could possibly say to these Trump voters posting self-pity videos because they're suffering due to his policies. Now, I don't do personal attacks, so I'm just going to tell you the truth, because sometimes the truth hurts. You don't get to complain. You definitely don't get to complain about the lack of leadership or ideas coming from Democrats, because we didn't do this to us. You did this to us. If you and I are driving down the interstate together and you reach over and grab the wheel and you steer us into a 200-foot deep ravine full of lava and sharks because you think big interstate is corrupt and you thought it would be funny to shake things up, when I scream at you as lava sharks eat our legs, you don't get to be mad at me for being mad at you, because it was my idea to stay on the interstate, and it was your idea that ruined everything for both of us. You don't get to ask what Democrats would do differently with the economy. You don't get to ask what Democrats are doing to help us right now. Those are 2024 questions. questions, but we're in 2025 consequences. This era of the United States right now, this is about the president you elected, the cabinet secretaries your Senate confirmed, the cowering Republicans you elected to obey him in Congress, and all of the very real consequences resulting. We told you these things were going to happen and we gave you lots of warnings, but you grabbed the wheel anyway. If you want to know what Democrats would do differently, look at the track record going back to the Great Depression. Economic growth, job growth, wage growth, retirement plan growth, all of these things have been better under Democratic leadership than Republican. If you like these things, you vote for Democrats because it's what Democrats do. I don't care if you like the Democratic candidate. I don't even care if you understand how the policies work. And I'm not going to ask you if you believe me because every chart and every graph that matters at the highest level for the middle class proves me right over the past 100 years. I'm only going to ask you that over the next year and a half, you come to grips with this fact so you don't make the same mistake again.
Caleb Ragland is the president of the American Soybean Association, and he just wrote an op-ed for a right-wing publication, and he said in there, quote, "Like many of my fellow farmers, I voted for President Donald Trump in the past 3 elections. The president won me over with his commitment to business-friendly tax cuts, as well as his track record of reducing regulation and cutting government spending. I am one of 500,000 soybean farmers in America who feels the pain. As a businessman, President Trump must know how urgent this is." Does he? Is he? Anyway, he goes on to say, the current trade war with China is a gamble with American livelihoods, especially for farmers, those of us who grew up with soil and sweat, who can't imagine doing anything else. Mr. President, I hope you hear our plea. Please make a deal with China now. Yeah, so he doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. There is no deal to be had. As of now, the majority of Trump's base is sticking with him on these tariffs. But it's gonna catch up with them. They're gonna realize sooner or later there are no deals. He is not the deal maker. He screwed up. And no, China is not begging and pleading and knocking on our door.
So I'm a black farmer, and a lot of people are wondering why are black farmers not panicking like a lot of white farmers? Well, let me explain to you the reasons why. It's because white farmers have been handed everything to them. A lot of them. Not saying all of them, but a good bit of them. And by that I mean this. MLK even pointed out. He says, farmers in the West and the Midwest who were white, they were given land, they were given money, they were given training, they were given a lot. Whereas the black farmers weren't given anything. And the largest civil rights settlement in U.S. history is Pickford v. Glickman, where you had a class action lawsuit, bunch of black farmers all joined the lawsuit, and they won a huge settlement because the USDA was shown to be racist for decades. So because black farmers haven't been given anything, we've been learning to do without, unlike your white farmers. So when things are taken away from you, all your subsidies, all your tax breaks, guess what? You panic. Whereas we've always been going through this shit. So there's problems in privilege.
This farmer who voted for her, who voted for Trump, who still supports them, doesn't believe that they would round up immigrants because it's an open secret that farms in this state are held up by undocumented workers.
How are they going to do that? Within 2 days, we will not have food. There will not be food anywhere.
Now look at yourself looking stupid on camera. What do you mean you didn't think he would go through with it? Why would you vote for something you don't believe would happen? No, you just wished it wouldn't affect you. But it will. Oh, within 2 days you won't have any food, and you didn't think of that in the voting booth? This just proves that Americans voted against and not for. And how are they going to do that? By showing up in hospitals, daycares, schools, churches. This man reminds me of the fishermen who voted for the Brexit and then started crying when they lost their market. He hates his employees deeply. He said it with his whole chest and didn't even realize it. Out there looking Putain, faut quand même être con, quoi. Faut vraiment être con. Je comprends pas.
So for those of y'all who've been keeping up with recent events as it relates to the farmers, right? We talked about Nebraska, and then we talked about Iowa, and all of these farmers, are losing their minds because they're losing their farms, and, they're scared. Well, let me tell y'all what I heard today. So The lobbyist groups for the farmers are proposing another bailout of $16 billion. The last time syphilitic Sid did this in his first administration, they received a whopping $24 billion in bailouts. Well, this time around, syphilitic Sid said he doesn't know if he can do that. He's not sure that that's something that they can accommodate. Look, I love the farmers. The farmers are wonderful. They farm, right? They farm. But, you know, we're trying to cut fraud and waste and a lot of unnecessary spending. So now these people and their lobbyists are trying to get bailouts. But what I want to understand is, what happened to you got to pull yourself up by the bootstraps? What happened to we voted for him because he's a great businessman? What happened to we're going to put our trust in him because he's going to help us? Help y'all do what exactly? Lose your farms? Yes, that part. Because you know who invests in these companies that buy up bankrupted farms? Your vice president. So, to all you farmers that voted for this, thinking it was going to be like the last time and he was going to give y'all a bailout and y'all would get those subsidies to support yourselves and your farms and your families, it's not coming. Not this time around. It's not coming. You can just forget it. So, I wish you well. I hope it works out for you. Maybe, you know, somebody can whisper in his ear and change his mind. You know, you might want to reach out to Ivanka because she's his favorite and he listens to her, I guess. But they're not really speaking, you know, ever since like the insurrection. But I don't know. This is just word on the street. You know, it's just gossip, but you didn't hear it from me. But, you know, good luck.
Now, fuck that. Fuck that. Joe Biden already bailed you guys out the first fucking time because Donald Trump screwed you over his first term in office. You guys seen what the fuck he did to you, and then you voted him back in again, and you think that we're supposed to have some sympathy points, or you going on CNN crying because he's fucking your shit up again? Really? Get the fuck out of here with that shit. The farmers in motherfucking Nebraska, Wisconsin, all of these states that are being affected, and they're trying to come on social media and the news stations crying now for sympathy points because they fucked themselves over by voting for this orange little bitch. Nah, it's too late for that shit now. Suck it the fuck up and struggle for the next 4 years.
Well, my friends, our farmers are in full-blown crisis, and it's not because of Mother Nature. It's because of Donald Trump's reckless tariffs that have torched decades of trade relationships and handed America's agriculture future to China and Brazil on a silver platter. 12,000 tons of pork canceled. Soybean exports collapsed, and family farms are now shutting down, and it doesn't stop there. Longshoremen, truckers, warehouse workers, entire communities are being gutted. This didn't have to happen, but Trump wanted a trade war. He wanted headlines, and now our farmers are paying the price while China laughs its way to the Brazilian soybean fields. And to make it worse, farmers who sign contracts with their own government, they're being stiffed, left holding the bag.
Alright guys, there you have it actually. Well, the cry of MAGA farmers has been loud on the internet space, especially Nebraska farmers, you know, California farmers. All these people actually voted for racism, and they voted against themselves. They voted to deport their labor force, you know. How do you even do that? What sane person actually votes to deport over 50% of his labor force? Because all these people, they knew that the widest or the majority of their labor force was comprised of illegal immigrants, and they still went ahead and voted for this man. I've been trying to understand myself, like, why did MAGA farmers actually vote for the orange man not once but twice? Well, did some research. Many rural farmers felt ignored, mocked, and sidelined by previous administration and urban elites. Well, Trump promises actually, you know, directly appealed to them. He told them that he will fight for American farmers. He told them he will bring jobs back to the United States. He also told them that he'll make better deals. Well, they believed in his tough stance on China, seeing it as protection against cheap imports and unfair trade practices. Deregulation promised them fewer environmental and labor restrictions. Well, for many of these MAGA farmers, Trump wasn't just a candidate to them. He was the guy at the county fair who finally spoke their language. Well, what happened after that? They got played because they all went at the ballot box, casted their votes against their best interest, regardless of the fact that this man also ran a campaign, on mass deportation of illegal immigrants, knowing that they should have actually made sure that there was an understanding between them and the orange man, I guess. But now, how is the reality hitting them? Well, Trump's trade war with China resulted in billions of dollars in tariffs on US agricultural products. China retaliated by cutting soybean, pork, and corn imports from American farmers. Instead, China built new partnerships with Brazil, Argentina, and Russia. Well, what is going on there? Many farmers lost markets they had spent decades building, and prices for key crops plummeted. Well, is that the great America that you wanted? Is that, putting the American farmer first that you wanted? Because for many of these farmers, actually, they have this illusion that America is the greatest country on the world scene and America can do away with everybody else and go on by its own or on its own. It doesn't work that way, because on the global scene, people actually become great with partnerships. America didn't just become great alone. It became great with partnerships. Partnerships with Canada, partnerships with Mexico, partnerships with Europe, partnerships with China, even though, all this trade war is going on. But China actually needs America as America actually needs China. This is how it goes on the global scene. This is what you need to trade. And many of these farmers, especially the soybean farmers, the pork farmers, were exporting their produce to where? To China. China was the biggest buyer of American soybean. Yet these guys, they went ahead and voted for these policies that were putting tariffs on China, knowing that it was going to affect them. Not the first time, but a second time, because this man has been in the administration the first time back in 2017, and it was the same story with American MAGA farmers, but they never learned their lesson, seems like. This is why we keep saying MAGA is a cult. I don't know what kind of delusion is within a person to go ahead and support something that is against his own interest. It doesn't make sense. As a businessman, you make decisions based on, the well-being and the future of your business. You don't just make rash, emotional decisions. Well, what happened? The MAGA cult. And if it's not the cult, it's a deep hatred between these people. They voted for hatred of illegal immigrants. They voted for racism. Yeah, this is what happens. If you can't call it a cult, then this is what actually happened. Well, they have been actually finding out after effing around with their votes at the ballot box. They've been finding out. Nebraska farmers have been crying all over the internet, asking America, do you not care about Nebraska? Well, California farmers have been crying. Texas farmers have been crying online because now they're finding out that, oh, wait a minute, we needed these illegal immigrants because they were giving us cheap labor. And this cheap labor, we're not going to get it from Americans. Well, if we want to employ Americans, you have to pay them above the minimum wage. But illegal immigrants were happy to do the work because most of them did not have a choice, actually. They did not have a choice to be picky and choosy at what work they can do. So many of them actually, worked in these farms and helped grow the American economy. Well, this is what you get when you vote against your best interest. It is FAFO season. F around and find out. I'm your presenter, Joel Mugisha. If you're new, kindly consider subscribing, like this video and keep the conversation going in the comment section below. Let me know your opinions about MAGA farmers. Thank you for watching this far. See you on the next episode.